guys, my name's Chloe, otherwise known as PrincessAspien, and welcome to my channel. So you probably clicked on this video after seeing the title and wondering what the heck happened. Or you're one of my friends or family members that I forced to watch this. Hi! So anyway, this video is going to be a little bit of a story time video, a little bit of a hospital experience video, and a little bit of an explanation as to why Aspies and doctors and hospitals do not mix. Enjoy. So to start off, I guess I should probably explain what exactly happened, what landed me in hospital, why I was there. Let's do it. So my pony, who I don't think I've even spoken about on this channel, which is bizarre. But anyway, my pony, whose name is Princess, I'll put a photo of her here so you can see how cute she is. We have recently started competing in Western events. There's a dog barking outside and he's not being quiet. Now, I've been getting really into these events. I've been riding horses since I was 4, competing horses since I was about 12. I have kind of done everything. I've done barrel racing, I've done show jumping, I've done cross country, I've done eventing, I've done dressage, I've done everything. But I've never kind of found like my sport, like my thing, which I've just become obsessed with. This thing that I've been doing for the past couple of months has been my thing. This has been something which I've seen and I've tried and I have just fallen, I can't even speak today. This has been one of those things which I've just fallen in love with. So basically the idea of the competition is to explain it to a non-horsey person or even a horsey person who's never heard of the sport before. It's basically an agility trial like what you do for dogs and stuff, except you're doing it on the top of a 600 kilo animal. Now, the event that I was at where this accident happened was a training day for an upcoming really big competition. We were all in an indoor arena. There was a lot of horses in the arena at the time. We were all practicing different obstacles, going over bridges, going through tarps, walking over things, walking under things, walking through things, picking things up, all that sort of stuff. Now, my pony, Princess, is pretty green, which means that she's not fully trained yet. She hasn't had the same experience that a lot of the other more mature, more experienced horses have had. She's fresh, she hasn't gotten out much. Going up to an obstacle which was a raised bridge platform. She wasn't too keen on the idea. She didn't want to do it, which I was okay with. It's her first time ever seeing it. She wasn't sure what it was. She's never seen it before. I jumped off her and not even 30 seconds after I had gotten off and was leading her around it so she could see it better, test it out and everything, another woman who was also training on the same day, her horse freaked out at something, he spooked at something, he wasn't happy with what she was asking him to do. I don't know exactly what happens. It's a little bit of a blur now, but he turned in an attempt to kick Princess. I had time to see that he was coming up to try and kick her. What I didn't have time to do was to push her out of the way and get myself out of the way in time. What I didn't realize is that his hooves were then going to my body instead. All 700 kilos of him smacking into me, which caused me to collapse down to the ground with probably the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. At this stage I was quite confused and quite disorientated. I didn't really know what was happening, where my horse was, what had just happened. Finally looked up and realized that I couldn't see Princess anymore. The first thought in my head was they've taken her away, she's been hurt, they're going to be doing something to her. I was very quickly assured that that wasn't the case, that Princess hadn't even been touched in the injury, and I was picked up and carried into the officers that were there. I was sat down and told to drink some water. I was checked over my injuries. The lady that was with me had started to call my parents, to which I very quickly told her not to. I told her to put the phone down. At this stage I was completely certain that I was going to be getting back up and riding again within 20 minutes. I mean, I've been around horses my entire life. I've been kicked and bitten and stepped on and fallen off and trodden on, and I've been hurt before, and I was kind of expecting this to be one of those things where I was, you know, crying for a couple of minutes and then within 20 minutes I'd be, you know, right as rain, happy as Larry, off and going on again. But that wasn't the case. And then the pain got extreme. The pain got so bad that I couldn't even sit anymore. So the idea of being able to ride again was probably not in the question. My face turned white. Someone came up to me and told me that I was literally white as anything. I'm pretty pale anyway, so at first I wasn't very concerned, and then someone showed me a picture and my skin was literally just paper. And then my parents were called, and then an ambulance was called. Now, I am terrified of ambulances. I'm terrified of paramedics. I'm terrified of hospitals. I'm terrified of sickness and illness and disease and injuries and hospitals. I always watch those doctor shows and those emergency shows and stuff like that, and I love watching them because it's not happening to me. I sound like an awful human being. But the thing that is bad about me watching those shows is I see how devastating the events are that happen when you have to call 000 or 911 or whatever country you might live in. And hearing my mum speaking on the phone to the 000 people about me was really freaking me out. I absolutely freaked out when I saw the paramedics, completely freaked out when they came down to my level and started ripping all my clothes off. Completely freaked out when they told me that they were going to have to cut off my favorite Wrangler jeans. I somehow managed to convince them not to cut them off and just to kind of like shimmy myself out of them. If I didn't have those jeans or those boots, I might as well just not have legs. Like, there's no point. I completely freaked out when they strapped my entire body up from my toes up to my waist. Mum tried to convince me that it made me look more like a mermaid, but I wasn't buying it. And I completely freaked out when I was rushed into the emergency ward and was hooked up to, it seems like, a million different drips and cords and tubes and heart monitors and all this crazy, noisy, loud beeping stuff that was all attached to my body in one way or another. This was honestly the worst place I could have been. This was honestly the most terrifying experience for me personally. If you don't personally have a problem with hospitals, I mean, I don't think anyone necessarily likes them, but if you're one of those people that don't really care about hospitals, you're not really fussed by needles and injections and stuff, imagine you being in your worst nightmare. Imagine you being chased by a 3-headed monster down a dark alleyway. That was how I was feeling being in a hospital. I had blood tests and MRI machines, which was really scary because there was like blue dye that was injected into my veins and all that creepy weird stuff, and tubes and x-rays and needles and injections and drips and everything going in, which I was terrified of. I nearly knocked myself out when I was going to the toilet. I nearly vomited all over the nurses. This might be too much information, but we're all friends here, we're all family, this is what we're talking about. Wasn't great. It probably wasn't in my top 10 best days list. After all the tests went through, the doctors told me that I did indeed have pretty severe internal bruising and soft tissue injuries, as well as internal bleeding as well. Again, that word really scared me because whenever you hear the words internal bleeding on doctors' shows and movies, it always leads to a not very good outcome. And to top it off, I had a really large gash on my leg, which looked and felt like a 3rd-degree burn. But perhaps the worst thing of the entire experience was that the doctors told me that they were going to admit me overnight so they could keep an eye on me and test me more. And honestly, I would have preferred for them just to chop up my entire body then and there. It would have been less painful. I hate hospitals. I hate loud noises. I hate doctors. I hate hospital smells. I hate the bright lights which make buzzing noises and are just terrible. I hate that you can just constantly feel and see and smell and hear sickness and disease and injuries and death, and I hate it. Yeah, hospitals are one of my biggest nopes. I don't even like visiting people in them. I refuse to even go into a hospital just to visit someone that's sick. Apologies to friends and family who may become sick or injured. Don't expect a visit from me because I'm not going. I'll come and visit your house afterwards and eat tea and biscuits with you. I was completely overloaded with sensory stimulation in the worst way possible. Usually if something happens, I can go to my room and cuddle Matilda, or go out to my ponies, or have my weighted blanket, or just block it out. But there was nothing in this case which I could do to be able to block it out. Scary situations and unfamiliar environments and having your body exposed to literally every single thing of the definition that you hate is going to be bad for anyone. Nobody's going to be able to cope well in that situation. Fellow Aspies, autism mums and dads, anyone that knows anything about autism, you know what a difficult situation this would be. You'll know that when the brain gets too overwhelmed with something, sometimes it'll just shut down completely. It just takes the next train to Notevilles and buggers off. It's gone, it's done. So when the doctors started asking me pretty extreme questions and doing things that I didn't want to be done, and I just completely shut off, or I would cry, or I wouldn't answer their questions, or I'd look to mum to get her to answer them instead, they were all kind of not going with it. I was actually getting scolded quite a bit for acting the way I was, or for making my mum answer the questions. I was told a couple of times by one nurse in particular that I was an adult, that I was 19, that I should be able to respond for myself, which of course just made me feel more upset and cry more, and Now, I am really, really blessed to have a mum who understands how my brain works. She was able to speak on my behalf and try to explain to the doctors what autism was, what it meant, why I was acting the way I was. But unfortunately, they weren't taking it into account. Not even in the slightest. Several of them had never even heard the word Asperger's before, nevertheless be able to understand what it meant, why I was acting the way I did, or how to deal with it. Now, I know that I'm really, really lucky to be able to live in a country where we get free healthcare, where I'm able to receive the treatment that I did so quickly. But at the same time, I also think that the country that we live in is a lot better than this. People with autism or other hidden disabilities are so deeply pushed under the radar simply because we look normal or we don't have a physical thing which sets us apart. I'm simply seen as an adult who's not cooperating or a bratty teenager, rather than a girl with a condition that makes it almost impossible to be able to react positively in these sort of situations. Now, I'm not a lawyer or a doctor or anyone important who's going to be able to make a change to Australia and the rest of the world, but I do think that someone needs to make a change and that it's really important that we are able to see this issue, that we're able to be able to help people that maybe haven't got parents that are as supportive of mine, that maybe haven't got someone that's able to be their ally and help them out. It's really important that hospitals and hospital staff and nurses and doctors and anyone else in those sort of fields are able to understand, have a half-day training session where they have to learn this is what autism is, this is what ADD is, this is what this is what this is, and this is how to cope with it. Even small things like the way that they talk or the way that they explain something, things that really aren't that hard to learn, they just need to be told to do it. Even the most basic of training and a small sign above the bed that had my dietary requirements and my name that just says ASD or something like that under it. Something to show them that even though I may look and act most of the time like a normal 19-year-old girl, there's something going on a lot deeper which maybe isn't as easily detectable, but is just, if not more important than any of the other physical stuff. I'm really happy to report though that I am on the mend and I have started writing again, much to my mum's dismay, and I'm still hoping to be able to compete and absolutely smash the competition that's coming up soon. I know that my sport has consequences, and I know that if I keep writing I'm probably going to get more injuries and probably going to end up in hospital again. Sorry mum if you're watching this. But this is one of the things that makes me happy. This is one of my things, and I'm definitely not stopping that anytime soon. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I'll see you again in my next video. Bye! Here we have Finding Dory, who steps on in and diminishes every single stereotype we know in pop culture about disabilities. Dory isn't the villain of her movie. She isn't the joke. She isn't the crazy side character. She's the hero of her movie. And it's not in spite of her disability, but it's because of it. Thank you Disney. I knew you would come through eventually.